Hey there, everyone. It's Antojai here. So, today we're going to be talking about how you can dismantle your shadow by not running away from it in general. So, there's different ways you can deal with your shadow because your shadow is multidimensional. There's times where you have to be like, hey, you're not the bad guy. Like, there's certain aspects there don't have to do anything with being evil. It's just you're misunderstood, right? But other times you're dealing with your shadow at a multidimensional level and you recognize that your shadow is used to intimidation. It's used to making you feel a certain kind of way towards yourself because of fear, right? And fear, based off of esoteric literature, is just it's healthy to understand, but it is just an illusion. So a lot of times people don't realize that the way that they interact with their shadow is based off of fear. Like, I'm not going to acknowledge it. I'm not going to give it power because I know what it's capable of, and it scares me what it can do when it's like running free reign. And that also just creates like this huge polarization in your reality. So one of the things that I've really noticed has helped me a lot, not only taking the time to be like, hey, I understand that my inner shadow is like a child and it just needs to be repurposed, right? It just needs to be understood. Is understanding that those moments where my shadow is trying to scare me, particularly this is my most recent healing that I did with myself was like anger, right? I used to be a really, really, really angry person, even though it doesn't seem like it now. I used to be super, super angry. And I ended up realizing that I don't like acknowledging my anger or those moments when I feel angry because I don't ever want to be that person that I used to be again, right? And I realized that, man, I don't acknowledge my anger because I'm afraid of my anger. I'm not somebody who's afraid of anything. And I said, instead of running away from my anger, which sometimes makes it linger longer than what it needs to be, I'm going to talk to it and I'm going to be like, hey, I'm not afraid of you. You've been scaring me for a while. I'm not afraid of you. You can't hurt me. You have no power over me. Why are you doing this? And instead of running and polarizing myself, I find this neutral point, right? At that neutral point is whether or not I want to choose to like talk to it as a peer or reparent it in general. But I need to shift my perception and say, hey, I'm not going to demonize you, or I'm not going to like run away from you and be afraid of you in general. Let's find a middle ground solution. The moment you do that, you're going to notice that you do go through some really powerful internal shifts that gives you the ability to then like recreate your reality. And in that instance, you are quantum jumping, all right? Because every little thing that you do, regardless if it's an external manifestation or an internal healing, you're quantum jumping to an alternate version of yourself that has said manifestation or said quality. All right. So you need to understand that even your shadow and the way you deal with your shadow is multidimensional. One way is not going to just work for it, right? You can't just say like you did Reiki on it once and now it's healed, right? Maybe the issue that you worked with needed Reiki. Maybe the next issue that you're going to encounter needs you to apply Antojai alchemy. Maybe the next issue that you are going to have with your shadow is required for you to stand up your ground and be like, what you going to do, right? Or maybe another time it's like, hey, you've been misunderstood and repressed. What's the matter? How can we make you happy? How can we work through this together? Right? You need to look at yourself as like this being that's a tree that's harboring all these other entities and beings inside of themselves that are just counterpieces to yourself. The moment you can harmonize with all those and integrate them and become friends with them and even give them the opportunity to feel more fulfilled, because every being in reality is seeking fulfillment. That's one of the things that I noticed. I've actually been able to separate my shadow, have a conversation with my shadow, and the inside of my shadow there are shadows upon shadows because it's multidimensional, right? So just because I separate my shadow doesn't mean that my shadow doesn't have a shadow of anger, or it has a shadow of depression, or it has a shadow of something else. I just take the moment to say like, okay, I'm going to deal with a certain aspect of that shadow. Maybe I'm just going to deal with the anger of that shadow and talk to it, right? As I'm talking to it, as I'm getting to know it, as I'm trying to rewrite my reality, I'm switching what I'm currently creating at that moment, right? And it's a moment that we say, okay, we're going to be using our imagination. We're going to be fluid with it. We're just going to do whatever is necessary to get the job done. That's when you become a true alchemist in your own power, because then you're using more than just one modality, one technique, one thought process, which would all be linear. Okay, it's just one straight line of thinking, right? Instead of you thinking in curvatures and angles, spinning around the problem, dancing around it, and then finally finding a solution that fits everyone. If you're a being that has beings inside of themselves that want to be fulfilled, in a way, you need to start being your own psychologist. You need to be your own coach. You need to be your own therapist and be like, okay, the only reason why I have this negative aspect of myself is because it's not fulfilled. How can we make you feel fulfilled? Well, I don't want to be angry anymore. Okay, shadow of anger. What is it that you need to do to feel fulfilled? I would love to be like the courage that you never had when you were a child to pursue all of your dreams. Okay, let's make that happen. And you can shift that energy at a fifth dimensional level. It's when you're at that level of consciousness and you recognize that that's an option, that you can actually make huge shifts in your reality and become the ultimate being that you've always wanted to become. So if you're looking for one-on-one coaching, go ahead, check out the description below or the one in my bio. Set up a free clarity call with me and we'll see if you're a good fit for the program. And then we can accelerate your ascension as quickly as possible. Thanks for watching, share, and I'll talk to you later.